Okay, so most people are going to have a tough time solving this equation, not because they don't understand a lot of algebra, but in order to solve this equation for x and y, you need to have a full comprehension and mastery of a lot of topics in algebra. And that gets kind of difficult for a lot of people who study this subject. Again, you could be very good at certain aspects of algebra, but this particular problem really does require full mastery, again, of a lot of different skills, and hopefully you have them. But let's go to take a look at the problem. The problem is the following. X squared plus y squared is equal to 8, and y is equal to 1/2 x plus 1. And of course, the object here is to solve for x and y. All right, so if you can figure this out, and feel free to use a calculator, go ahead and put your answer into the comment section. I'll show you the correct answer in just 1 second. Then, of course, I'm going to walk through all the steps necessary to solve this problem. And it is possible that you have not yet had the level of math that's required to solve this, but I can assure you, you will be able to understand the solution even if you only had maybe 1 year of algebra. But before we get started, let me quickly introduce myself. My name is John, and I have been teaching middle and high school math for decades. And if you need assistance in learning mathematics, check out my math help program at tcmathacademy.com. You can find a link to that in the description below. And if this video helps you out, or if you just enjoy this content, make sure to like and subscribe, as that definitely helps me out. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at the answer. And the correct answer is the following. Well, we're going to have, 2 points here. Now I'm going to label these points point A and point B, and here is the answer. Now you might be saying, I don't even understand, Mr. YouTube Math Man. What are you talking about? Well, these here are ordered pair XY points, and so we have X. We have actually two values for X. Let me kind of write this out, then I'll kind of explain what's going on even before we kind of get into the solution. So X, remember, we have two ordered pairs. The first number is the X value. So X is 2, and then over here, this is our other X. That would be negative 14/5. And then Y is going to be 2, and also negative 2/5. Okay, so these are our values for X and Y, but conceptually, they represent two ordered pairs. Now, if you're already lost, don't feel bad. A lot of people, again, are going to struggle with this problem, but this is something that you should understand, especially if you are at a level of math like college algebra, certainly pre-calculus. This is definitely a must-know. So if you've only taken Algebra 1, well, don't feel bad because you haven't yet learned some aspects needed to solve a problem like this, but you can understand the solution as I walk through it. But if you are taking or have taken Algebra 2 or college algebra, there's a good chance that you've learned some of these concepts that are required to solve this problem. Certainly, if you're in like a pre-calculus course or some sort of advanced algebra course, this is something that you should be able to do. Now, let's just talk real quick about something you learned in Algebra 1 that's going to be necessary for us to understand in order to solve this problem. So if I gave you this problem, x plus y, or 2x plus y is equal to 9, and maybe x minus y is equal to 7, could you solve this problem? Because if you couldn't solve this problem, there's no way you're going to be able to solve the problem in question. So this particular problem is what we call a linear system. All right, so basically, we have two lines here, and I'm not going to graph the lines, but effectively, if we were to graph these lines, we have one line going like this and another line going like this. Now, this is assuming that this system has a solution, but if the system does have a solution, and it does, it would cross these lines. Okay, again, these are linear equations. We could graph these linear. Now, notice the word linear, and L-I-N-E-A-R, linear. What's the root word there? Line. These are line equations. So you could graph these lines, and of course, these lines will intersect at a certain XY ordered pair. Okay. Now, how do we solve a system like this? Well, you use techniques like the substitution method or elimination and combination method, or even the graphing method. Okay, so hopefully this makes sense to you. And if you're like, yes, Mr. YouTube Math Man, I learned that. That's not a problem. but this question is much more difficult than that. And indeed it is. Let's just take a look at the big picture real fast before we kind of get into the full solution. All right, so we want to solve for x and y. And the situation here that we're dealing with is a non-linear system. Okay, that is what is key. So this is a system as well, but this equation right here is a linear equation. This represents a line graphically, but this is not. Okay, what do you think this is? We have x squared plus y squared is equal to 8. Well, this happens to be the equation of a circle. So we have a circle here and a line right here. What is going on? Well, effectively, we have this kind of situation. We have a circle. That's a terrible circle. I could do better than that. So we have a circle and we have a line. And effectively, what's going on in this particular problem is we have 2 points of intersection. Okay, 2 points of intersection. That's why I'm calling this like point A and point B. And we have basically found the ordered pairs or coordinates that represent the intersection between this line and this circle. Okay, so you need to have an understanding of that. And circles, when you study circles kind of in a formal way in algebra, this comes under the topic of conic sections. And typically this is an Algebra 2, certainly a pre-calculus topic. So if you never, studied that before, conic sections, well, this is a little intro to it. Now, this line, we don't know if you're saying, oh, yeah, this looks like a circle, this is a line. Maybe the line doesn't even cross through the circle. Well, that would represent a situation where there is no solution to this non-linear system. Or maybe the line just touches the circle, what we call a tangent. So there's only one point of intersection. But in this particular problem, we can see that the solution is 2 points. So indeed, we have this kind of scenario right here where the line fully intercepts the circle at 2 points. Okay, so that is the situation that's going on. And a lot of you are saying, Mr. YouTube Math Man, you got me so confused. And, this is why I don't like math. It's so confusing. Well, listen, let's just kind of, walk through the solution step by step. But the way I like to teach anything is to give the big picture first, because, again, that's why I think most people will have a tough time solving this. They don't keep the big picture concepts in mind. And, of course, if I give you one little problem to solve and you know the exact steps to solve that, that's fine. But when you have to put together, kind of the concepts to solve something like this, well, that means that you have to really kind of learn math, from the top down, not just these little tiny skill sets. You got to be basically connect the dots. Okay, so hopefully that is a pretty good introduction to what's going on here. And so now I'm going to get into a lot of algebra, right? So I'm going to go through this somewhat quickly because I don't want to make this video too long. But here is our two equations. We have y is equal to 1/2 x plus 1. That is a linear equation. Basically, it looks like this if you're going to graph it on the xy plane. And then here we have x squared plus y squared is equal to 8. This happens to be the equation of a circle. And the general equation of a circle is x squared plus y squared is equal to r squared. And this has a center. This is the equation of a circle that has a center at the origin. Okay, so we can see that r squared is equal to 8. So the radius here is actually the square root of 8. So this right here would be like the square root of 8. And it goes around. So that is what our radius is, because if we square the radius, which is the square root of 8 squared, we get 8. Okay, so if you're confused about this, don't let this don't let this stop you from continue watching this video if you if you're only at the first year algebra level. But this is a topic that you're definitely going to have to understand. And again, it's called conic sections. Now, this is where you study circles, ellipse, hyperbolas, all these wonderful things, and even parabolas at a higher level. Okay, but it's nothing that you can't understand. But again, we need to understand graphically. I keep using this word understand because that is key here. We have to graphically have a concept of the problem. We're like, okay, here is the circle and here is the line. And clearly, it looks like we're going to have 2 points of intersection. So we need to find these two individual coordinates. So that means we need to find two separate xy points. Okay, 2 separate xy points. So that's what we're looking for here. Okay, so if this makes sense, really what we have to do is a lot of algebra. So I'm going to go ahead and get into it right now. Okay, so this problem from an algebraic standpoint is pretty straightforward because here we have y is equal to 1/2 x plus 1. So I already have this variable y solved for. Y is equal to this. Well, in this equation, I have x squared plus y squared is equal to 8. I can replace this y with this stuff right here. So we can use the same techniques that we use when we're solving a linear systems. Again, this problem would be classified as a non-linear system because we have something that is not a line involved with something else. And by the way, you could have, like, say, a circle and something other than a line, maybe like a parabola. Okay, there's all kinds of crazy situations that you can have with non-linear systems, but the strategies that we use to solve linear systems can come into play when we're solving non-linear systems. Okay, so we're going to use the substitution method. We're going to substitute for y 1/2 x plus 1. So let's go ahead and do that right now. So we have x squared plus y squared is equal to 8. We'll replace this y with 1/2 x plus 1. And now we just get to do a bunch of algebra. Let me walk you through the solution here. Okay, so 1/2 x plus 1, when we square that, i.e. we're going to take 1/2 x plus 1 and multiply it by itself, we're going to get 1/4 x squared plus x plus 1. Okay, and of course we still have this x squared here. And now we have like terms, right? We have an x squared here and an x squared here. This is a 1x squared plus 1/4 x squared. That's going to be 5/4 x squared plus x plus 1. And of course, this was equal to 8, but I'm going to scoot this 8 over to the other side by subtracting it from both sides of the equation. And now I have a lovely quadratic equation. Remember, when you're solving quadratic equations, and again, these are skills that you learn in first year algebra, you want to set your equation equal to 0 in standard form. So I have 5/4 x squared plus x minus 7. Okay, so I'm really not in the mood to work with fractions, so let's get rid of this 5/4 here. And the best way to get rid of that is to multiply the entire equation by the LCD. So here we have the denominator 4, we have a 1 here, we have a 1 here. So what is the LCD? Well, it is 4, so if we multiply the entire equation by 4, we get rid of this 5/4. It's just going to make our life a lot easier. So 4 times 5/4 is 5x squared. 4 times x is 4x, and then 4 times -7 is -28. Okay, so all that work just to get to this equation, and we haven't even yet solved this quadratic equation. Well, let's go ahead and do this now, and let's direct our attention up here. So what do we want to do? Well, anytime you have a quadratic trinomial like we have right here, you want to see if you can factor it. So obviously you need to be strong in factoring, and this quadratic trinomial can be factored as x minus 2 times 5x plus 14, and of course this is equal to 0. So we're going to use this concept of the zero product property. We have this thing being multiplied by this thing and answer 0. If you have one thing being multiplied by another thing and answer 0, well, that means that one or both of these things must be 0. We can't multiply two things together and get 0 unless this or this is equal to 0. So this strategy here is great because all we need to do, is to set each factor here equal to 0. See, my brain is kind of all over the place. I'm trying to talk about, I'm trying to keep myself together here because I have to kind of bounce between, talking about nonlinear systems, multiplying, binomials, talking about how to solve quadratic equations. So again, if you are if you had a tough time solving this problem, that is completely normal. And, I don't want to say it's overly tough. It's not impossible, but your brain does need to shift gears. And I'm trying to shift my brain into gear. So let's go ahead and finish this up here. So if x minus 2, we're going to set this equal to 0, and 5x plus 14, we're going to set that equal to 0, and then we're going to solve these respective equations for x. So this one, we get x is equal to 2, and here, when we do this work, we'll put that 14 on the other side. We'll subtract 14 from both sides of the equation, and then divide that by 5. So we're going to get x is equal to negative 14 over 5. Okay, so what does this all mean? Well, remember we have 2 points here that we're looking for, point A and point B. So let's go back up to our little graph here, point A and point B. We're looking for 2 xy points, okay? Now, what did we just solve for? Well, we just solved for the variable x, and we got 2 answers, right? So here's our 2 answers for x. X is equal to 2, and x is equal to negative 14 over 5. So these are our x values and these respective coordinates. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. You're like, yes, Mr. YouTube Math Man, I'm getting it. All right, so now what we have to do is simply solve for y, and actually this is going to be not too difficult. So we'll take that step, but first we're going to take this step, and that's having you quickly subscribe to this YouTube channel. Now, I'm trying to keep my voice here together. It's a little, I'm kind of struggling a bit talking today, but I'm like, I don't skip a day when it comes to teaching math. I really have to kind of be out and, sick, if you will, because I love to teach. And, for me, on my YouTube channel, you're going to find a wide range of math topics from basic math to advanced math, like calculus and everything in between. But I'm very passionate about teaching math because I know a lot of people out there struggle with the subject. I mean, think about this problem that we're doing right here. Even if you're good in algebra, let's say, oh yes, I got I did great in Algebra 1 and geometry. I'm super good. And then you get into a course that, is doing problems like the one that we're doing right here. And then, like, say, pre-calculus, for example, you can, I've seen it time and time again. When things start getting tough, students tend to want to give up. They start questioning whether they're good in math. I'm telling you right now, it's completely normal to feel challenged. So do never give up in math. And that's why I make so many videos where I really try to break things down in detail. So if you're like, hey, I actually understood that, well, that gives you confidence to learn. But I need your help to continue to grow my channel. And the best way you can support my channel is just hit that subscribe button. And if you're going to do that, hit that notification button as well. Okay, so let's get back to this problem. So, all right, so we have these 2 points. We understand graphically what's going on. And we just found the 2 x coordinates in these respective ordered pairs. So that would be 2 and negative 14 over 5. Now we need to find the y coordinates. So how do we do this? Well, again, the same strategy that you would use solving a linear system. Now that we have x, all we have to do is plug in our x values into one of the equations, one of the original equations, and the easiest equation is this one here, y equals 1/2 x. We're going to plug in these x values. Of course, we have this x value 2. We'll plug it in for x right here and then solve for y. And then over on this same equation, we'll plug in this x value, negative 14 over 5, and just solve for y. Of course, we're going to get 2 separate unique y values. And of course, we're looking for 2 unique y values because these are 2 unique points. Okay, so let's go and do the basic algebra here. So we have 1/2. We're going to plug in 2. Again, this 2 comes from this x equal to 2, right? So we have x is equal to 2. So we want to find out what is y when x is equal to 2. So we're plugging in that 2 right there. And when we do all this lovely math, 1/2 times 2 is 1 plus 1 is 2. So here is our coordinates. So when x is 2, y is 2, that represents the point 2, 2. And over here, when we plug in negative 14 over 5, again, we want to find out what y is when x is negative 14 over 5. We're going to go ahead and plug that into this equation and do all this lovely work right here. You can kind of pause the video and follow along, but we were going to end up with negative 2 bis. Okay, so that is our coordinates. And when we kind of see this from a big picture standpoint, if you were to plot this, plot all this on graph paper, you would see this point A right here would be at the point 2, 2. Now, my little, sketch here is not perfectly accurate. This isn't 2, 2. But you might say, that doesn't look like 2, 2. Well, that is the point 2, 2. Again, you could graph this out and have fun with it. But conceptually, what we have here, again, is a non-linear system. We have a line that's intersecting a circle, and the point of intersection is going to be 2 points, 2 xy points, and these are the values. Okay, so again, do not feel bad if you weren't able to kind of, see the big picture here. It's likely you have a lot of these skills like solving quadratic equations and things like that. But here's the deal, right? As you progress in mathematics, you're going to be challenged, even those of you that are pretty good in math right now. Okay, I can tell you from personal experience, having a degree in mathematics and a master's degree, that plenty of people have even taken, let's say, like calculus. Oh, I took calculus. I'm super good in calculus. And calculus is obviously a very advanced math course. Well, calculus kind of is like basic arithmetic compared to some of the way more advanced courses that you can take at the university level, like abstract algebra. And, again, it's all relative. So, how do you learn math? Well, I'm going to tell you right now the best way to learn math, especially if you think you're going to progress into higher mathematics, is to really immerse yourself in the subject. Don't learn it, kind of like, well, I'm going to just learn what I need to learn to pass this test, and then I'm going to forget everything I learned. You want to kind of, try to understand the big picture concepts. And in order to do that, you need an excellent teacher. Of course, you got to be doing your part. And that's where I hope I can help some of you out. So if you need assistance in, more advanced math or even algebra or whatnot, and you like my teaching style, check out my full courses. I'm going to leave links to those, my primary courses, in the description below. So if you're at pre-algebra, I have that course. If you're at algebra 1, geometry, algebra 2, pre-calculus, you can find all those courses in the description. Now, even if you're like, hey, Mr. YouTube Math Man, I'm not even at basic math level, well, I even have a course for you. It's called my foundation course. It's a quick review of basic mathematics. And if you're not even taking any one of these courses, but you want to learn some algebra and geometry just as a hobby, well, check out my Math Skills Rebuilder course. I try to kind of have something for everyone. But if you like this video, if you got something out of it, don't forget to like and subscribe. And with that being said, I definitely wish you all the best in your mathematics adventures. Thank you for your time and have a great day.